Hi there. Welcome to Real Talk live at the barn. My name is Emilio Pardo, and I am so glad you're here. This is a very special place, the barn. So, 21 years ago, we built this barn for friends and family, for conversation, for playing, for listening to music, but then slowly and gradually became a place to have a conversation about how to get through life, how to get through the week, how to get through the day. So as you can see, it is filled with memorabilia of different places that we've been and where people have brought us some trinkets from all around the world. But the real magic of this barn is the conversations and the real talk we've had here and the answers that we have found to some of our greatest problems. You see, we're going to three pandemics: a COVID pandemic, an economic pandemic, and a racial injustice pandemic. All three of these are creating havoc on our mental strength, and we need real talk to find real answers. You see, I know about real talk. I'm a cancer survivor, pancreatic cancer, but I'm also a communications practitioner that has helped many companies and organizations find answers and solutions to their problems. Now, we want to open up this barn and have real talk and pair you up with experts that can help us find some answers and tips on how to get through the day and how to get through these pandemics. So, welcome, sit back, pull up a chair, and let's have a real conversation. Let's get started. All right, and here we are. We made it to the barn. The barn is open for real talk. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad that we're adventuring together. And what nowadays is so important is to figure out how we're going to get through so many of the issues that we're dealing with. But here at the barn, it's all about hanging out and having a real conversation. But more importantly, our mission is to give you as much tips and tools of the trade in order to make it through these pandemics. And I cannot think of a better way to start than to start at the very top of our needs, which is purpose. When you go through so many of these issues and hard decisions to make, and everybody is nervous, uncertain, not enough clarity, loose of control, feeling like, where is the compassion of folks? That's when you really start to think, what is this all about? Why? And I cannot think of a better guest and a better partner here at the barn than our friend Richard Leider. Richard Leider, he is the king of purpose. He is a world-renowned coach of coaches. This man has coached great individuals all around the world. And we're so happy that he's one of us and he's here. We're going to put him to the test. We're going to break down what is this whole purpose thing is all about. Because, at the end of the day, it'd be nice to have full purpose, but I need purpose to get through the day. And that's the kind of conversation we're going to have. So let's bring on Richard. Welcome to the barn. There you are. All right.
Thank you, Emilio. What an honor.
Well, it is fun. You've been here to the barn, as you can see. It's with a few more gadgets than last time you were here.
True.
And I see you have a great barn in your space. What's that thing hanging in the back there? Is that in Africa?
Well, I've been leading, as you know, because you've been with me. I've been leading walking safaris called InVenture, not Adventure, but InVenture expeditions in East Africa for 3 decades. So that's a shield and a spear from a Maasai guide who gave it to me as a gift for thanking me for being there with him.
That's amazing. I had the privilege, by the way, guys, of spending time with Richard. I took one of his trips to a pilgrimage, frankly, to Africa, to Tanzania. Yeah. And it was a life-changing trip. I think I actually have a picture still of our troop that we went to Africa together, looking for purpose, looking for that answer of visiting the original hunters and gatherers of mankind. Yeah. And I got to tell you, Richard, that was a life-changing trip.
Well, and as you remember, it says on the T-shirt that you got, back to the rhythm. InVenture Africa, back to the rhythm. And when you think about what does that mean, it means back to the core, back to purpose, back to why we're doing what we're doing and where we came from. So it has a lot of levels of meaning, but Africa is not just about being on a safari, it's being on a safari inside yourself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I see a picture here of the
Yeah.
Motley Crew. And by the way, for the record, we had an archery contest and I won. I are the hunters and gatherers, so that was great.
There you go.
But Richard, let's have a real conversation here. There are a lot of people in the world right now that are hurting. They're looking for answers. They're scared about where their next paycheck is going to come from, much less what is my purpose in this life. And frankly, I feel it. Being stuck in sequester in a house for months and months, you start thinking, wow, what am I here for?
Right.
What's the real purpose? How do we break this thing down for the average person? I mean, real talk, straight up, what the heck do I do about purpose and about getting the strength to help me get through these pandemics?
Great question. I'd like to address it in three ways in our time together. What is this purpose thing and why should I care? Why is it, what's kind of solution will it give me? And then what is the path to purpose? And then how do I stay on the path? So first of all, what is this purpose thing? Well, let me just say that I have a colleague who has when you call him on his phone, the answering machine says this: at the sound of the tone, please leave your answer to life's two eternal questions. Who are you and what do you want? Well, that's kind of the core of purpose. Who are you and what do you want? And when you answer that question simply, there are two things that show up in the research and in my studies over 4 decades of work on this topic. And the two things are, we want to belong and we want to matter. And I think that's what the barn's all about. That's what you're all about, is helping people feel like they belong and feel like they matter. We are tribal animals. We are people who belong in a tribe or a community or a herd, but we want to make our contribution to that community as well. So I always say that you need some fundamentals. If you break it down quickly, Emilio, you need money, you need medicine, which is health, and you need meaning. All three are fundamental. We all know somebody who's got money and health but are unhappy, and some people who are happy who don't have medicine and health. So
that sounds like the 3 M's of how to survive: money, meaning, and medicine.
Right. And the meaning thing is, I'll get around to it someday, but the surprising science of purpose. I did a PBS special that was shown in hundreds of cities across the country, and I got a chance to go out to those cities and meet with whole families of people, all who were looking for purpose. And, the grandparents, the parents, the kids, and they were looking for meaning as well as, like purpose and a paycheck. They wanted money, obviously. They wanted to be healthy with that money, but they also needed a reason to get up in the morning. So purpose is kind of your center, your aim. It's not a goal, it's your aim. It's a path and a practice. And that's what I want to share with your viewers is the path and the practice to get there. And can I say I've had a lot of, like you, Emilio, have had fortuitous encounters with a lot of people over time who've really changed the game for me. And early in my career and life, I met and spent a week with Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, and those who don't know, sold millions of copies. But Frankl was in a series of concentration camps. His whole family and his parents, as well as his pregnant wife and his siblings, all died. He was the only one who survived. And when he was liberated, he went home. He's a neurologist. He's a doctor in Vienna, Austria. He went back to being a doctor in Austria, but he sat down when he was healthy and he wrote Man's Search for Meaning in 9 days. And he said this is the point. The ultimate reason for our existence, the ultimate is choice. We always have choice. The ultimate freedom is to choose regardless of the adversities you mentioned. In a pandemic, what choices do we have? In a racial injustice, what do we have? And an economic recession, what we all have choices now. Purpose is about being clear about those choices. Yeah, here's what he said. The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Well, you've been through a circumstance with pancreatic cancer. You had choices to
Hmm.
go a whole lot of different ways. And the one thing you didn't do is you didn't go it alone. And that's part of the message here, is not only the freedom to choose, but the freedom to have a purpose partner, to have
Yeah,
people who you can have real conversations with, like we're having.
absolutely. Isolation is fatal.
I just
And
like,
that's when we
absolutely.
open up the barn, man.
Yeah,
It's about sharing. It's about finding these shortcuts. It's about getting a handle on what we can do and choice, not freeze in the moment of despair.
right. And we're not going to go into all the science, but what we know about this, because people say, so what's the evidence? Well, there's evidence like this, like Viktor Frankl and others we know, and you are one of those, to be quite honest. But purpose in times of uncertainty is fundamental. It is not a luxury. You can write that on the barn, on the wall. Purpose, not a luxury. It is fundamental to health. It's fundamental to healing. It's fundamental to happiness, and it's ultimately fundamental to longevity. People who have a reason to get up in the morning, a why to live, tend to live 7 to 10 years longer.
That's amazing.
And it's really, the science is so compelling and clear now that it won't be long till your physician is going to say, Amelia, we've done everything we can do, and you got to do this for yourself, and that is have a why, have a reason to get up in the morning. That attitude, that mind-body connection is absolutely fundamental.
So how do we do that, Richard? How do we keep it real? What are some of the tips that you can help us with this whole concept of how do I get up in the morning? And by the way, nowadays it's like Groundhog Day for most people.
Yeah,
getting up and it's like, wait a minute, I just went through this. And the biggest question is, what's for dinner or what's for lunch?
We're all on a purpose path, regardless of our situation. And it looks like this. It goes from birth to death. We're periodically on a plateau. And then all of a sudden a pandemic hits, or you get a cancer diagnosis. And that's a trigger. And that trigger puts you into limbo. Limbo is that period of uncertainty that so many people find themselves in today. Limbo is like being between two trapezes. And you got a hold of one trapeze, but you're not sure where the other one is, or maybe you've got both and you're hanging on for dear life. But at some point, you got to make some moves and unpack or let go and repack or grab on to the other trapeze. So I think what you're saying is, how do we do that, right?
Yep.
And so how do you do that? Well, a paradox of purpose, Emilio, is that it has to start on the inside. During times like this, on this purpose path, during times of limbo, first of all, we go higher. We look back and what's going on here with this pandemic? What's going on with this racial injustice? Then we go deeper and we have to decide for ourselves, what are we going to do about it? Right. How do we remain relevant, or how do we stay sane on a day-to-day basis? So there's three things to do. So the paradox is that you go higher and deeper. It starts inside, but then you've got to activate it on the outside. Purpose is a verb. It's not a nice thing to put on the wall, a nice concept to get around to when you're older or at some point. Purpose is moment to moment to moment. There are 1,441 purpose moments in a day, little micro moments where you can make choices. And so there's the morning practice. First of all, you wake up in the morning, and for 2 minutes you do this, Emilio. You don't reach for your phone. Now that's going to be hard for you and me, and for others. You don't reach for your computer.
I hate to say it, but I found myself sleeping with a phone and an iPad, God knows what else.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's it. Nobody else on the bed.
So step one is pause. Step two is breathe. You center.
Okay.
Just like in yoga, you center, or meditation, you take 3 deep breaths. And then you picture the upcoming day and make a commitment to make a difference in one person's life today. That's it. That's as simple as it is. Why do you get up in the morning? You get up to make a difference. The American essayist E.B. White said this: I arise in the morning, torn between a desire to save the world and a desire to savor the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. Well, it makes it easier to plan the day because a good life is about saving and savoring. So saving means not literally saving, that's how he wrote it, but picturing how you're going to make one purpose moment happened in one person's life that day. That's the power of purpose. So the morning practice is to make an intentional mindset, aim, commitment, how you're going to live your life that day and who you're going to contribute to. Then the evening practice, at the end of the day, you go back to the day and you look over the day, and let's see this next slide with it. It's got a Post-it on it. And the Post-it has actually my purpose on it. But grow and give is the universal default purpose worldwide of the purpose movement. If you get up, like E.B. White says, saving and savoring the world, saving means how am I going to grow and how am I going to give today? So at the end of the day, you look in the mirror and say, how did I grow and give today? And you hold yourself accountable for that. So I suggest you put a Post-it on your mirror for 1 week, 5 days, and you look and you do those two practices morning and evening. And at the end of the week, I guarantee, Emilio, as you know, people will have a felt sense of purpose, not just a head trip or not just a concept. It's actually, that felt great. I want to do more of that. Why would I want to do less when it feels so good? So the purpose moments, 1,441 choices, as Frankl said, every single day.
I love this, and this is very simple. You have a Post-it. You can buy a Post-it anywhere. I did this, Richard.
It looks just like this. Here's mine from today. I pulled it off my mirror to show you, but I try to practice what I preach. Every day is not perfect, but the days when I do this, it's a different day and a different life.
Yeah, I urge everybody to think about doing it, especially if you're sitting there going, I don't know about this purpose thing. This is just too big for me to deal with. Grow and give is absolutely at the core of, like you said, universal purpose.
Yeah.
And frankly, it makes you feel like there's something that you're striving for on that day. But what about Richard? Okay, I got that. I got grow and give. I got my Post-its. I have my morning.
You wanted a couple simple ones. These are really easy to do, and the process works if you work the process. If you do this, you'll feel it.
You taught me something in your teachings of a phrase that you use that these things may sound like common practice or common sense to you. A little sticker that says grow and give. The key is common practice.
Right. Yeah.
How are you going to use it? Right. And you don't have to tell anybody, just use it. But what happened?
You're only as good as your practices. Whether you're a parent or a leader or just in life, we're always practicing something. The key is, are the practices getting you what you want or not? And so new practices take time. And eventually, if you practice long enough, they get to be in the muscle. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to put a Post-it on your mirror. It's just a way of life. Grow and give is a way of life for me. And it's not just because I write about this and think about it that way. It's that way because it works. And the other thing is, I talked to the folks at Google. There are 2 times as many people Googling what's my purpose as how to find happiness today. People are hungry in this time of uncertainty for finding center, finding a place in the center of life that'll keep them centered. And when they're grabbed and pulled off purpose, they can get back to their moral compass or their center or their purpose.
And it's practical. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the fuel. But let me ask you a question. So we're humming along with our practices, but now all of a sudden I hit that limbo state that you're talking about, and I love your imagery between these 2 trapezes. And you got to let go of this trapeze in order to move forward. How do you give advice to people in how to let go of those moments and how to bounce your way back out of limbo and grab that other trapeze to move forward?
Well, 2 points. But first of all, let me say that everybody's an experiment of one. So any advice has to be taken and modified to the individual. But the first thing is to revisit your sense of purpose or your sense of values. What is it that you stand for? What is it that you want your life to be about? Like Frankl had to decide, He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, as Nietzsche said. Well, a concentration camp, why am I living? So
Yeah.
he got up and he would give somebody else a kind word or a slurp of soup or a hug or a crust of bread or something, but the why was always beyond himself. So we tend to do better when we make an offer to others. So purpose is, what's your offer today to others in spite of your own adversity, illness or not? You know that when you went through
Yep.
this and you helped or talked to somebody else who had cancer, you did better, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The
Never go
second,
through it alone.
yeah, and the second thing is, as you said earlier, isolation is fatal. Don't go it alone. Have a purpose partner or a sounding board. A purpose partner is a committed listener, somebody who practices care versus cure. They're not going to just say, oh, here's what I would do if I were you. It's like, Emilio, tell me more. How are you feeling? You seem really scared about it. And they're listeners. And the power of purpose is the power of listening and being listened to. And so a sounding board is, you could have a wise elder or a wise younger, but you need at least a committed listener, somebody that don't go it alone. Every day, check in at least mentally with your purpose partner and have that real conversation. This conversation we're having needs to be then held after we're done today by somebody in your orbit, somebody in your
Yeah.
life.
So do you think that your purpose partner needs to know that they are your purpose partner, or does it work either way?
It can work either way, but when you ask someone to be your purpose partner, they'll say, oh, who me? I'll tell you, 99.9% will be totally honored, and they will do whatever, and they'll say, reverse that and reciprocity. Well, let's be purpose partners, and
That's great.
in certain ways. But learning to listen without and being interested, that rather than always trying to be interesting, is a disciplined practice that really heals people.
Yeah. Well, listen, speaking of practices and healing, I want to introduce you to a couple of people that are coming to the barn, and one of them is our dear partner, Stefan. Stefan is Kaplan is our producer for our barn experiment, but he in itself is a practitioner of what we're talking about here. And Stefan is a perfect example of someone that is taking this concept of, grow and give. He launched his own in the middle of all of this. He's an amazing photographer. He is an amazing practitioner of social media. He is, in fact, a coach of coaches of social media. And, he did the same thing that we're doing here. He says, you know what? I want to help people in my business in photography. And he has launched his own live show. Stefan, come and say hello, man. I know you're here. There he is.
Hello. Hi, Emilio. Hi, Richard.
Hello, Stefan. Good morning.
And Stefan, now we know that we can give and grow with a Post-it sticker. We have the 3 practices, but you've lived this real time yourself.
Yeah, I have. And, it's been a long journey, and I'll keep it brief. But, I was at the New York Times for 20 years as a supervising photo editor. That was an incredible run and an incredible thing in my life. I've also been a freelance photojournalist for many years. I'm a born and bred New Yorker. I always have to throw that in. After I got downsized from the New York Times, I was, like everybody else right now with many things in this economy, I was shell-shocked. It was tough. It was hard, mentally, spiritually, everything. But, I persevered and I learned new skills, and I had been diving into social media, and I realized that the secret sauce was putting together everything dealing with my social media, my visual background, and my networking skills. And then lo and behold, our dear friend Flavio Masson introduced me to you and Rick Bowers, and next thing I know, we were on a path, and you were like, you're going to be our social media guy with Life Reimagine, and with us as an executive coach with all our thought leaders, and the path was set. And it was a wonderful journey together. I thank God every day that I've met you and Richard and the whole gang, Dr. Janet Taylor, Dr. Christine Whalen, Dr. Rich Feller. I could go on, but all of you helped change my life. I mean, Richard, your books have been so influential on me, and your whole demeanor and your whole way towards approaching life and purpose and passion has set me on a new course the past 8 years or so that we've all known each other. And I have to tell you, I'm honored, and it's a joy to produce this show with you, Emilio. We also know that it is your birthday today.
Yes, it is.
Forgot about that.
No, I never forget, and you never forget. We will never forget you. You are an incredible human
year. This is my gift to all my friends and family, is to bring people like you to help us with tips. But Stefan, listen, thank you for my birthday wish, but I want to bring somebody else in here. The purpose of the Barn Show and Real Talk is to have a real conversation with real people that are out there doing what they can to get through all this, just like all of us are. I am so happy to introduce you to someone who not only has done that, but is living it day by day by day. You're about to meet a fantastic human being. Her name is Pinky Baksinila. Well, Pinky is a favorite name of Pinky, and Pinky has done something that so many people out there today, Richard, are struggling with.
Mhm.
Pinky had an amazing career as a CFO for some of the best brands. Amazing career. And her passion and her wish was to open up one day a yoga studio. And you know what? She did it. She got up, left her family here in DC, her friends, her furry dogs, everybody, and moved to Naples, Florida, and opened up a beautiful studio for yoga. And literally 4 months after that opening, the pandemics hit, turning her world upside down, closing her life dream, and having to deal with, how do I manage this? And I am so happy to introduce you to someone who has. And Pinky, we're here to help you. We're here to take this wherever you want to go with Richard and with Stefan and me, because that's what we do here. But welcome to the barn. You've been to this barn, actually, and you know what it looks like. Here we are looking at your studio. Let's show everybody your studio website there so that people know where to go. But Pinky, tell us, how did you survive this? How are you doing? First of all, how are you doing? And what's going on now? Are you open? Are you trying? What can we do to help you?
First of all, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be on the show. Happy birthday, Emilio.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been pretty challenging. I took over the studio in October, and took over a whole brand new community. I didn't know, clients who didn't know me yet, didn't trust me yet, wasn't sure if they liked what I had to offer. We got on a nice little path, got some traction, and things were kind of humming along, which is amazing. And then March 17th, ended up closing the studio.
Wow.
The numbers, were starting to get higher in the state, and people were starting to get nervous about coming in. I have clients who are in what could be called a high-risk demographic, so they were really nervous about venturing out and about. So 3 days later, the governor ordered gyms and centers to close down indefinitely. So after picking up my jaw off the ground and just going through that whole phase of shock, I kind of sprung into action. It was almost like, okay, we got to survive. Like, we can't just sit back. Let's just do something. So we pivoted to a virtual platform immediately. We took some classes outdoors. I scoured around for a little park to find, for space to have classes, and those closed down, unfortunately. So we were just kind of left with trying to get by on virtual classes. My clients were, pretty anxious, very confused, a little scared, nervous, as was I. And I was living through that same wave of emotions that they were going through.
How did it feel?
But we're open now.
Yeah, I mean,
it was very scary.
Yeah, go back for a second.
When you realize moments where, like,
yeah. I just wanted to go back for a second. Something you said when you that moment that you realized, that you had to close your studio. You have just poured in your life savings into it, and you're there, frankly, in some cases, alone, trying to survive. What did that feel like, and how did you get through it?
It was very devastating. It was disheartening. I just was kind of just overwhelmed. Like, okay, this is what I'm facing now. I can't believe this is happening. It was really hard. And, like you said, I had left my family and my friends and my close support system there in Maryland and DC. So I was basically alone going through this, geographically and physically. I think just knowing that we were all going through something together, this community was all suffering, just kind of helped me realize that I'm not alone. Knowing that I had a good business plan to work off of, and I had some options if things did not go as planned. Definitely this was not in the plan, but, just to have faith that things would improve, and just having that mental fortitude and willpower that this wasn't going to defeat me. And just kind of, just having to wake up every day and say, look, I can't control what I can't control, but what I can control, I'm going to make the best out of it. So if it's, providing a class to someone, or if it's, talking to a client who definitely just is feeling anxious, like I'll be there for them. So that was, how I got through that first initial, few weeks of shock.
Yeah, no, the shock and despair, and at times you start losing sleep, and then you start getting your physical, and you talk about that in your website, how you've turned your business and you've inserted purpose and well-being and meaning and adjusting. But Richard, Pinky's story is so powerful, and she's one of the lucky ones, right, that has survived, that has made it through. But it's that resilience that she's building that I think it's important to talk about a little bit, because that's just practice. I mean, that's practical. You don't get resilience. You have to do the right things.
Yeah. There's all kinds of resilience practices, but Pinky, what you talked about was the choice you made to serve others in spite of the situation. When Frankl said, don't ask what your purpose in life is, he said, ask, what is life asking of me in this situation? So it could have been all about you, which partially it has to be to survive, but you asked, what can I do to serve others, not just to serve my business? And that served you as well. And so it's kind of like, the way I look at it, it's, you can do mindfulness and you can do yoga and you can do exercise, but yoga for the sake of what? It's for the sake of others' well-being. And so if you can manage that tension of managing your own stress, your own anxiety and theirs. Anxiety we all have. It doesn't matter how much money we have or how our age or stage, we all have anxiety. But anxiety has two factors to it. And one factor in anxiety is powerlessness. And so you said take control of the situation, choosing what you could do in the situation. That is a purpose mindset. Not new, but you practiced it. And I'm sure your yoga and other practices helped you to stay centered in all of this. True?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think I would be a much more anxious person if I didn't have those calming practices and yoga and meditation to kind of get me through the day. And that's what I try to, inflict on others is to just take this introspective outlook and say, like, you have to let things go. You have to just, be mindful of what you can and can't control. Like, perfect example today, we have a virtual class today. And, as you may or may not know, Zoom had a really big outage this morning and we couldn't have a class. So
oh, wow.
you kind of have to roll the punches. I mean, you try to control what you can, but you can't get so upset or, disjointed if things just can't go your way. And at this point in time, I mean, things aren't going anybody's way. So we just have to be really strong about our mental fortitude.
So going back to center, going back to your practices, going back to those things you can control, not easy for anybody, but without practices, you're all over the map, and your anxiety is going to skyrocket. And so I really commend what you're doing, staying centered yourself by making sure you don't let go of your own practices and then helping others with theirs. That's the power of purpose right there.
That's the power of purpose right there. And then, as I'm listening to you, I want to share something with you, make me see if it makes any sense. It's about, like Richard said, it's about keeping it simple in the frame. What's the framework? And I have run into this framework. It's called the 3 C's. And the 3 C's for dealing with this, and I've used this in corporate America, and I've used it in purposeful efforts. The 3 C's is clarity, control, and compassion. And clarity is critical. And by the way, clarity is not, what do I have here today? Clarity is knowing exactly where you stand,
right?
Emotionally, physically, mentally, money-wise, but really it's a cornerstone of where do I stand without any of the BS that is all around us. And then control, which is, as Richard said, it's that act of small steps to control myself and to control my environment, and then compassion. How do you deal with it? But this 3 C's, which I saw that in your site also talked a little bit about this whole concept of compassion and taking action and protecting what you have and so on. But this may be helpful for folks to think about as they navigate. What are my 3 C's? Do I really know my clarity? And what can I control out of this? I can't control everything, but I know there's a small step to control. For me, controlling is knowing exactly what I have to deal with and knowing what my tools are, whether it's the 3 C's, the grow and give, but it just helps you with a framework. But anyway, I offer this to you as a thought and framework.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if you saw on my website that I had also just kind of written some advice to fellow small business owners, as well as just to people in general. From my background as a professional, in the corporate world, combined with my yogic perspective, it was, the 3 P's were protect yourself, protect your business, to be present, just enjoy these moments that we have. And to be compassionate, to practice compassion, because there will be setbacks, but we're here for serving others. At least I am, and it gives me no greater joy to be able to make a difference in someone's life, in some respect. I found that in my corporate career, it was fine, but there was something missing, and when I did mindful practices or I taught yoga classes, that was where I just felt the most joy because I saw the most reward. And to have people find a better avenue to find balance in their life. So that's how I came about to this part of my journey here.
That's really incredible, Pinky. And listen, we commend you. I wanna, let's get real about something else. There are a lot of people out there, millions, frankly, without a job. And in about 30 days at the end of September, a lot of foreclosure notices are going to be hitting those households. And now it gets real. Now it gets real when you are threatening your place of living. And then, frankly, look at the food lines that are happening. So my question is, and my push is, Richard, how do we help? How do we address those people? They may not be as fortunate as Pinky in being able to have the strength to get through it, but there are a lot of people out there that are frankly lost and looking for answers like the ones that we're talking about here. But how do you deal with that?
Well, people want purpose and a paycheck, not either or, both. Let's put it that simply. But the word calling.
Now we got 3 C's to the 3 P's to the 2 P's: purpose and paycheck. I love that.
Chris Farrell, National Public Radio correspondent, I endorsed his book called Purpose and a Paycheck. So that's where it came from. But it's true. It's Studs Terkel used to talk about this with people who worked in factories and on the street and things. But here's the point: the word calling and the word purpose are synonymous. Calling is the vocational or the work word for purpose, and it's the end of work as we know it. This pandemic, it's not going to go the new normal. There is no new normal, and particularly the new life skill for everybody, whether they're working or not, is they have to figure out what their offer is, what their value proposition is. So the napkin test, which I use, is people say, well, what's the answer? Give it to me in 10 seconds. I call it the Got a Minute School of Coaching. I say, write this down. Gifts plus passions plus values equals calling.
All right.
You need to know what your gifts are, your talents, your skills. You need to know what you care about to use those talents and skills. And you need to know what kind of environment's the best fit for you. Even if you can't find it, the starting point is to know yourself. And so here's the napkin test. Follow the flow. When you're in the flow state, in the zone, think about it in yoga. When you're not thinking about all the moves. You're just doing the moves. They're in your muscle. The napkin test is when I'm doing the thing, using my gift, let's say, of writing on something. I have a new book coming out next year that on aging, which I'm really passionate about, writing about aging in an environment which is entrepreneurial for me. I'm in the zone all the time. Not all the time, that's not true. But I'm in the zone when I'm doing those things. And so the key is to work on yourself now and to say, if I go to work someplace, what's my offer to this place? Not just what are they offering me. And so we need to know this is a life skill of the 21st century, the napkin test.
I love it. And most people have napkins, at least we still do.
Yeah.
That or toilet paper.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
But I love the simplicity of that formula, Richard. And it's just a matter of us practicing and giving.
And everybody has gifts, as you know. It's not, well, I'm not gifted. It's not about being gifted like Mozart or somebody who's. Everyone has certain things that their hand turns to more naturally than others. It's just like purpose. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. You have a reason for being here. And part of that reason for being here is to use your gifts in the service of others, and as well as yourself. I mean, it doesn't go without saying. I guess it has to serve you. You have to pay the mortgage.
Hey, Pinky, you have the chance here. We're here with Richard. Any questions that you wanna drill out of Richard before we move on to our next guest?
No, I think all your points just totally resonate with me. Everything you've touched upon, I find myself like, yeah, I've done that, or I can do that, or that's a great thing to ponder. Just the reminder of what the purpose is, especially during these times of crisis. People get so lost in the day-to-day and feel despair, but to kind of rise above that and take a step back and really just, think about what is your calling, what is your purpose, and how can you kind of get back on track or just stay on track, I think is a really good confirmation to me of all your teaching.
I've been interviewing elders for decades and asking the question if they could, among many, if you could live your life over again, what would you do differently? And the three things that come up, because that's your cohort in many ways, right? The 50 plus crowd, not exclusively, but they said they wish they would have been, if they could live their life over, they wish they would have been more reflective. They wish, and you give them a chance to reflect. And they wish they would have been more courageous in certain ways, particularly in relationships and work and things. And the third thing is every single human being wants their life to matter. Mattering matters. You can make them feel like they matter for those moments that they're there with with you and then go out and take that practice to the world. So I applaud your mindset to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, personally, yeah, there's been a ton of moments where I've been like, what if, or should I have done this instead? Or do I want to, I just don't want to have any regrets,
Sure.
which is why I took the leap when I did last year. There's so many other times where I could have done that, but I think I was ready.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to help you with sending as many people to you as we possibly can. If you want to try something not only special, but with purpose, join one of the classes that Pinky has crafted there. They really are in that sweet spot, and we're going to keep putting up your URL. And after this, we will send out some messages to drive people to you, because we all got to help each other here.
That's right.
Stefan, I know that you're monitoring.
I wanted to say one thing, Pinky. You're an inspiration, because you can see it in you, the beauty inside of you, of how you're hanging in there and persevering with this. This is an incredibly tough time with everyone. I hear story after story, and myself being in social media, and it's heartbreaking, but you will persevere. Your outlook on life is amazing, and your studio, I'm sure, will thrive again. And while we're at it, since we're wishing Emilio a happy birthday on his very special day here, because we're just thrilled that he's here with us, that he's doing great. And, wow, we're just, we love you, man. So I wanted to bring somebody else on to lend a little support here.
Oh my God.
Hello. Happy birthday, Emilio.
That is so awesome. Everybody, meet Christine Whelan, another amazing practitioner.
Happy birthday to you. Great to see you, Emilio. Great to see you, Richard. Great to meet you, Pinky.
Great to meet
you. Also, thank you so much to Steph for making this all happen.
What a surprise. Beautiful.
What a great surprise. Hey, folks, not only Christine Whelan is an amazing practitioner, but you've been working with millennials a lot. Are millennials, talk to me about how millennials are hitting the wall during these three pandemics. And I call them three. I call them the COVID, economic pandemic, and the social injustice pandemic. But what's your take? What's going on?
Millennials have been hit so hard, a second or a third time. I mean, this is a generation that, really dealt with the 2007, 2008 financial crash and was hit hard by that. And now they're getting hit again. So the physical, the mental, the emotional challenges that so many of these young adults are dealing with. And I'm also now teaching Gen Z, the students right now, the even younger, the next generation. And boy, are they struggling too. We're seeing depression and suicide rates going up. We're seeing lots of anxiety. It is a tough time for everyone. So all the work that you are doing with this new show, with your purpose work, Richard, continuing on with this, with your social media outreach, and Pinky with your work, offering people some solace in these tough times. These are really, really important things to do to help people keep going.
That's amazing. Christine, tell the world what you're working on now and what you're doing.
So like Richard, if Richard is the Pope of purpose, I'm trying to follow in his footsteps as one of his acolytes. And I teach at the University of Wisconsin at Madison. I'm teaching an entirely online course now this semester on consuming happiness and looking at purpose and meaning as it interacts with the market economy in particular. And I also just finished a new Audible series on living on purpose. And that will hopefully come out sometime later in the fall and early winter. So I'm working with a lot of great organizations, including Sanvello, which is from United Healthcare, and it's an outreach around purpose and meaning formation in the coaching realm and the mental health realm. So I'm trying to keep this purpose work going myself.
That's amazing. So, Professor, I got to ask you, how in the world do you keep happiness going in the middle of this crazy world upside down?
So this morning was the first morning of virtual school for my 5, 7, and 9-year-olds. And I texted all my mommy friends saying, I'm beginning the day with espresso and I'm ending the day with wine.
I think that next to grow and give is the best advice we can give everybody today.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be real here.
That's something that I've learned so much through all the teachings from you, Christine, from you, Richard, from you, Emilio, and everybody else, is that whole concept of grow and give. Yeah. Emilio wanted me to do this, so I'm not plugging it by any means necessary. But I just wanted to say, when this pandemic hit, Amelia told me everybody my background. I wanted to give back, but I didn't have a lot of money to give away, but I wanted to find a way. So I threw together a concept that I had of helping the photography community out there. And I've done like 20 shows now every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. where I'm showing these photographers work so that when this pandemic hopefully subsides and God help us goes away, that they're able to get more work, because everybody has been hit by this. Everybody. And this week I have a on, and his name is Tom Franklin. Pretty incredible. He's the photographer. He's the photographer that took the photo of the firefighters raising the flag at Ground Zero.
Wow.
And Tom Franklin He's an amazing photographer, and he'll be on this Saturday at 10 a.m. But the thing is that his story is amazing. His journey is amazing. He teaches at Montclair State, but I want every photographer to be able to tell their story. And it's really incredible to have Pinky on here today. And I'm going to turn it back to you guys, but I just want to say that's my contribution to the pandemic.
And also, folks, there are folks that are sending questions in. I will get to a lot of your questions afterwards. We will be happy to do it. But also what I would love is for you guys to think of guests that you want to see here, especially people out there in the real world that are going through all of the stuff and ups and downs that we're going through right now. But send me ideas. Christine, I can't believe that you surprised us at the barn. We got to have you. We got to have you on the show. You guys have no idea how many tips Christine Whelan has to help us. That is so terrific. But, the most important thing, guys, is that at times like this, we need to keep in mind that we do have a choice. We have a choice to do something a little bit different. And as despairing, Viktor Frankl that Richard talked about, he was in a concentration camp. Right? To give a crumb of bread in the middle of a concentration camp to someone, because that is your power of giving. That is your power of action and control. Right. I know that's a little dramatic, but you know what? We're going through a similar situation in our own ways, and we're all an experiment of one. But having conversations like this, man, and letting it be real, that's the way to go. And I just am so thrilled to have the opportunity to give something back to the world that all of us are. Wow. I also want to plug in that we, in addition to Christine Whelan, we have our next show ready to go with Janet Taylor. And Janet Taylor is a psychiatrist that has worked in inner city New York. She's on Good Morning America, on the Today Show all the time. He's one of the most sought after profilers in the country when something goes wrong. But this is the next one. We're talking about emotional resilience that we're talking about here, and how to build it, how to keep that mental. So look for that coming up on our next show. Richard, sorry, go ahead, Stefan. You were saying?
Oh, I was going to say, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to create and launch this first show with you, and now Richard here as the first guest, Christine with the big surprise today.
Thank you. That's awesome.
I was only getting one surprise. I was trying to get some others, but everybody's busy. And Dr. Rich Feller was going to come on too, but I think he's having a little technical difficulty. We all are. The Wi-Fi is crazy everywhere these days. We've done pretty well today with the Wi-Fi, so I'm happy about that. But I'm looking forward to this journey of helping you produce this show, and thank you for the opportunity.
So I have to jump in with Christine real quick. Okay, Christine, I'm going to put you on the spot, because that's what happens at the barn. You get put in the spot all the time. You have 30 seconds to tell us, how do we keep happiness going at moments like this?
It's all about pro-social behavior. It's about thinking of others and doing things for others, getting outside of yourself. If you focus in on yourself all the time, that's going to lead to all sorts of churning thoughts and anxiety. Do something, however small, for others. And think about it, maybe not even in terms of a life purpose statement, but a daily purpose statement. And so I've been working on a little pandemic purpose statement every day where I take Richard's ideas, right, of the gifts and the values and who you want to impact. And then think about what you're worried about and 1 or 2 things you're going to do today to make a difference.
Wow, that's incredible, man. Yeah,
I love it.
Christine is I'm sorry, I'm going to say this straight. I know you well enough. You're like a bundle of energy and positive energy. And with 3 daughters, 2 daughters and 1 son.
Yeah.
It's
espresso shots.
Guess what? Hey, happy birthday from Dr. Rich Feller.
Hey, there's another thought leader.
Great to see you, as well as our colleagues there. Great to see you all. Happy birthday.
Rich Feller, Professor Feller. Welcome to the barn. You've been here at the barn. You've helped millions of people around the world with their purpose of work and how to deal with work. We have a few minutes. I will have to bring you in here because Richard's background, Rick Feller's background, has been world renowned for how do we deal with the new concept of work. What happens now that we have over 20 million people out of work? This is like the biggest situation we have. How are you helping people, and what advice do you have for us, for those of us who actually don't have any work right now?
Well, it's great to say hello to the Cuban Sinatra, buddy. Happy birthday. Well, I think we're working on a couple projects. Certainly, we're working
back there. That's actually the direction of where Cuba is.
That's great. Well, we're working on some cool projects. We're working on Use Science because that's going pretty large, which is an aptitude test to give people a sense of what their aptitudes can lead to. We crosswalk that with job titles and then crosswalk that with skills they need to learn. And we're also excited about our board game. Who You Are Matters is now virtual, and we started a whole new program called Conversations Matters, which we've taken to corporations. But for me personally, I've tried to come up with ways to make sense of this for me, and I call it the 3 I's UA.
Hey, Rich, can you speak a little closer to the mic and a little louder?
Sure. There we go, bud. I had to be on the phone. I apologize.
Thank you.
But for me, it's about how do I stay relevant? I don't want to be irrelevant. How do I move away from isolation? And how do I not be invisible? And that's what the workplace is demanding of us today. And to me, it's those 3 I's that are critical, because we all want to be understood and tell a story that lets people know what our skills are and how they solve problems. And how do we let people anticipate something? The workplace will come back. You will find a way to empower yourself. You will gain your voice. So I call that the 3 I's UAs, and a simple way to help myself get through the day.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And you wanna tell folks your current profession right now with university?
Yeah, I'm a retired professor working with the National Science Foundation project at Colorado State University, but it's given me all kinds of ways to try to take ideas and get them to scale. And there were a couple of good ones. Like I remember this great book I learned about purpose. If you remember that one, that was a pretty cool one. And there was another great book I learned about called this one here about Life Reimagined. Not a bad book read. And I see Christine Whale in there. Guess what I just found?
Oh, I love that book of hers.
That's a great book.
Hey, I have too.
Yeah. And I think of all the ways that a guy named Emilio led me to some things like the NFL and Aspen Institute, and the opportunities you gave me to try to help people make a difference, pal. I can't thank you enough. So happy birthday.
No, thank you very much, guys. And we are thrilled. I'm going to do one lightning round. Pinky, you're surrounded by thought leaders, great thinkers, and practitioners. But I want to do one lightning round, starting with you, and that is the one thing that you did and felt that worked for you during this very difficult time when you were facing. And for all of us, what's the one thing that we have done in the middle of these pandemics? Go.
Well, I've got cancer on my face, as you may tell, and I've lost my mustache. So I've been doing some energy work and just thinking about living out of love and being grateful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Christine.
I've been having dinner with my family every night and doing less of the running around and more of the quiet together time.
That is awesome. Richard?
I live in nature, so nature has been a great healer, but the silver lining in the pandemic has been writing. I have a new book coming out next year. The manuscript The final manuscript just went in yesterday. I co-authored it with David Shapiro, our 6th book together. It's called Who Do You Want to Be When You Grow Old? The Path of Purposeful Aging. So the writing every day, good cup of coffee, like Christine is mentioning, and writing and being in the zone for 3 hours, it was a gift of solitude.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Pinky?
2 things. I would say don't be afraid to lean on your support system. They're really important to lean on at this time. And secondly, just be positive. Just having a positive outlook and some faith is what's helping me kind of get through this.
That is so important. I will tell you, mine was exactly that. Stay positive. Mental strength equals mental power, and mental power gives you solace and peace. And I would tell you, as hard as it is, staying positive is a killer one. Stefan, real quick, and then we have to run. What's your one piece?
The one thing I have a 13-year-old, and the one thing that's concerned me the most is him being home from school so much. And we just made the decision to have him do remote learning only until they can prove that everything is fine. And the one thing I started doing about 3 weeks ago is we haven't been able to go anywhere, but we started camping out in our sunroom twice a week. Put on some candles. I make sure I don't fall asleep with the candles burning, and lay out there with them all night, fall asleep, tell stories, share things, and that's what's important. Is we're just trying to keep our son and our sanity, all of our sanity.
Well, thank you, and we're coming to the end of this first inaugural show, and I just ask that you guys share the link with as many people as possible. Send me ideas of new people that you want to see, questions that you want to have, us answer. I am so happy. Thank you for this wonderful surprise. And this is what the barn is all about. You never know.
And that's why I had to get Christine and Rich on with Richard, and everything else.
Bonanza. Thank you.
The barn was all about.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. We're there to help you. We will send people your way. That's what this is all about. It's about helping each other. And we wish you the very, very best, and we will keep it going. Dr. Feller, you look great without your mustache. You look 10 years younger. I love it. Christine, you've always looked young.
Thank you.
And let's get ready let's bring you on and share all of your great ideas and gifts, and we'll be there with you. And my brother, Stefan, thank you for producing this. And then I have to add one more plug here, because that's what this is all about. When you go to my site and you see all the pictures and you see all the picture work that has been done here, that's been done by David Marsands, who is a great photographer, and he is also dealing with this. He almost happens to be my nephew. So when you go to my site and you get inspired, hook up with Dave. He can hook you up too. And that's what we're here to do, to help each other. But I want to thank everybody. For tuning in, giving me a little bit of time. And by the way, let's rock and roll for the next one. Let's keep it real. And thank God that we're all in it together.
And I'm going to, as we depart today, everybody, I'm going to throw up our promo for next week, for 2 weeks from now, with Dr. Janet Taylor. And Rich, thank you for coming on. It was an honor to produce this show and have you guys come on and surprise our birthday boy. Christine, thank you so much for your time. Pinky, we're going to be with you the whole way. And Richard, the Pope of Purpose, what can we say? Having you and the Queen of Purpose on, we're honored. So you'll have the last word here, and then I'm going to put up the promo card for next week, and we're going to say, have a great week and a safe week, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Let's keep it real. Keep talking. Take care.
Go, brothers, sisters. Be well.
Be well.
All right.
Thank you all. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Pal. Great to see you.
Real Talk, Sunday, September 6th, folks, 12 p.m. Join us for Real Talk live from the barn with your host, Emilio Pardo, and our new guest, Dr. Janet Taylor. Find her on Twitter at Dr. Janet. We can't wait to have her on. She was working hard today, so she couldn't come on, but we will have her on in 2 weeks. Have a great one, folks. Take care.
Folks.